And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara Podcast. Here's Jeff.
Help if I had my mic here, right? What's up, everybody? It's Saturday night. Glad to have you guys here with me. And we're going to have an awesome show tonight. We've got two previous guests popping in tonight. One is Krishnanand, and one is Dr. Laurence Brock. And I haven't seen Dr. Laurence in a long time. I think I had him on a couple years ago. So that should be pretty cool. And I'm wearing the wrong glasses. I can barely read my screen. They'll probably pop up here in a second. I'll find them. So before we get started, in the description below is a link to my personal Facebook page. If you want to friend me on Facebook, feel free to do so. You'll see that my last name is Reynolds. Mara is my beloved wife. And I think I saw recently someone was calling me Mr. Mara. So, excuse me. That's okay. It doesn't matter. So that is that. There's a link to our Facebook page. Let me put on... wrong music. Let me have a little background music. A link to our Facebook page, a link to our other channels, music and cooking, and then that's about it. And then also in the description below are links to Krishnanand's socials and Dr. Laurence Brock's socials. And you guys will have them on, and you guys are going to be... I'm going to be depending on you guys to participate and also share some or ask some questions. I'm feeling like I'm flying blind. It's interesting how glasses are so necessary. Oh, I think there they are. I think these are the right ones. Let's see. There we go. Now I can read the chat. Perfect. Wow, it's such a big difference. All right, we have 145 people, so I think it's time. Let's bring in Krishnanand and see what he's up to. And I think it's probably been about a year since I've had him on. I don't even remember what podcast number he is. And we have to review what happened to him. But he is a near-death experiencer, as well as Dr. Brock. And let's help him on here. Krishnanand.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's been a while. When was the last time you were on?
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Mara.
No, well, yeah.
I just learned that's her name too. So I just found it was Reynolds, and so I just found that out too. So nice information.
Yeah.
So, you and I visited. This is my third time visiting, and thank you for inviting me back. Mm-hmm. It's always a joy to be with you. I enjoy it.
Well, we enjoy having you. When was the last time you were on? I don't even remember.
It was about 6-7 months ago, right before. Matter of fact, I did your podcast on the near-death experience about 2 days before my book got released.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a big milestone, and it was just a joy to begin like with you. So that was great.
Well, I've had several thousand people join me since we've had you, so we probably need to review a little bit about what happened to you. How did you have an NDE? Was it one or multiple? I've
had two in my lifetime. I was born into the first one. I was born as a nuchal baby, my umbilical cord around my neck, so I was basically born dead. And so I was born into a near-death experience. As I emerged from the womb, I had all the symptoms, all the side effects of near-death experience. And I felt like I was lost. I didn't know where I was at. I was confused as which dimension I was in and which lifetime I was in. Same with this last one. And the one that I had much later in life was much more severe. I was hit in the face by a truck, killed instantly.
Wow.
And a paramedic was happening to me on the corner in front of a drive-through line getting lunch. It would have been in the back of the line, I wouldn't be here. And they were on the scene second to bring my body back to life. And the moment of impact from the truck hitting me in the face, I catapulted to the other side. I didn't hover around, no out-of-body experience, didn't want to see, didn't need to see, and I catapulted and went to the other side. And on the other corner, before the paramedics got there, actually, on the other corner was a pastor in front of a tire store, having on the phone, getting tires on his daughter's car. He's the one that pulled me from the wreck. Of all the people, a pastor. So reading my last rites because I was dead. And then the paramedics came over and brought my body back to life. And I'm was the guy that was in a 9-day coma and woke on my birthday. So
well, it's a double birthday. It's a double birthday.
So thank you. And so understand that when I woke from my coma, I was in a stage 3 Glasgow, which is synonymous with death. Like literally, EMTs with stage 3 shrug their shoulders and say, "Up the guy, there's nothing they can do." And when I woke from my coma, Jeff, I did not know who I was. I did not know what a hospital was. I didn't know anything. My identity and memory was completely deleted. I'm not saying I had amnesia. It was much more severe than that. It's like I didn't exist at all before. And really what it wasn't like that even. So the thing is, my mind and my conscience was completely aware and awake the entire 9 days I was in a coma on the other side, in a dialogue with what I now call Akashic agents, in wonderful dialogue with them the entire time, getting my life previews. And I had multiple life previews. I had not just this lifetime, but I had life previews of multiple lifetimes over thousands of years. So it was quite a profound experience. And also another big kind of hallmark difference from what you often hear, and I'm going to try not to tear up this time because it is very emotional. It's not the pain that I went through, which was tremendous. It's the pain that it caused others. I to this day can't get through without choking up, because I don't want to be a source of pain for others. And
well, why were you a source of pain for others? They were sad that you were gone, or you wronged them in life, or what?
No, my family relied on me. I've been a stand-up person in the community. I was a private practice counselor, saving lives every day, honored to do the work. And I was the foundation of my little family, my son and my partner. And so there they were doing their normal things, and then get a phone call. My son was at his job at In-N-Out Burger when he was 19 years old, gets a call from his friend. His friend was happening to be on the corner at the same time. And that's a total coincidence, kind of miracle. And called him and said, "Your dad's been in an accident. He's being hauled off to the hospital." And he's been killed. And so I can't imagine what it was like for them having their normal routine day to suddenly get a call and realize that a big foundation of their lives was gone. And so, and they were told when they got to the hospital, they were told that I would never wake up, and that if I did, I would never be able to take care of myself. I'd probably be vegetative. And so the prognosis was, if I ever woke up, which no one had, like 2 people since 1980 had woke up from stage 3, and the brain trauma was so severe that I was diagnosed that I would never be able to take care of myself, probably would never be able to talk and walk again. And I came through and did all those things. So I had become a medical miracle, and it was a hardship. I mean, I basically lost everything. I mean, again, I wasn't a very brief near-death experience where I saw the light and saw God, and then came back to my body, went to work on Monday. My life was wrecked. For many, many years, it was completely wrecked. And so keep in mind also the big difference between me and other NDEers that you speak to is that prior to my NDE, I was already a lifelong spiritualist and mystic, involved with spirituality, mystical paths and methods, modalities since I was a child. Maybe that's a symptom from my first NDE when I was born, I don't know. But I was deeply involved and committed my life to spiritual illumination since I was very young. And so I didn't suddenly get a religious experience from my NDE. It deepened some of the things I already saw and knew, but it was honestly, some of it was very tragic and also very enlightening. So.
All right. Thank you for catching us up. This is kind of off topic, but it still may not be. It looks like you got pictures of yogis in the background, and your name is Krishnanand. How did you come by that name?
Yeah, and where I'm sitting, this happens to be like a little like sitting center that I have in my home. And so this, and again, and so when I'm on Zoom with my students and clients, and then you can't see it, but this is the only place I can sit. So I'm not trying to force this on anybody, but this happens to be my guru, and he gave me this name, Krishnanand. So my worldly name is Scott Spacky. That's what I was born with. He changed my name far before my NDE. Back in 2010, I went and asked him for a new spiritual name. He gave me Krishnanand, which basically means God's bliss, and I do not deserve that. And what's below him is my teacher. So this is Swami. This is my Swami teacher, and this is my guru, a Mahapurush. And his name is Kripalu.
All right. since the last time we were together, have you had new experiences, or are there any updates or any new realizations as you're still processing that NDE?
Couple things. The final chapter. Oh, what's also below that, which you can't really see too well, is a cover of my book, which I'll hold it up. So this cover that I designed, and I had an artist do the work for me, and she's absolutely brilliant. And so what we have here is a yantra
Looks
that's
great.
consistent to the yantras of Sanskrit yoga. And yes, the final chapter of my book is called Prophecy, and it's not a prophecy for the world. I'm not trying to prophesize what's going to happen to humanity. The prophecy was the set of visions and messages that I continue to receive throughout my near-death experience for over 10 years, and still do, about what would happen and what I should do. And I was told, stop writing the book you're on. I was writing my fifth. I already had 4 books published, and so I was writing my 5th book, and I was basically told by this other side dimension, Akashic agents, stop writing that and write your memoir of this near-death experience. And so I did. And then again, that was released. And so that's what this book is. And the final chapter of that book is called Prophecy. And it predicts, or you could say articulates, why I'm supposed to do this and what's supposed to happen. And everything that's predicted in it has been coming true. I mean, and so what I did, Jeff, is because I wanted to document it, I wanted to give evidence of this. And so when I got these visions of what was supposed to happen, I made videos and I date stamped them, and I put them on YouTube on a back channel so that they're date stamped, so you can see when they were made. And so as they come true, you can see, wow, this is authentic. Like this, he predicted this long before it ever happened. And again, I'm not predicting things like Nostradamus for humanity. This is about my life and my future mostly.
Well, what are some of the predictions that have come true?
Well, that I would relocate, which I did, and that I would release this book, of course, which I did, and a couple other, and that I would travel to Egypt, which I did, and then the way these things occurred, and again, so, and that somebody would come into my life rather spontaneously and be a producer and help me get the book published and all this, and literally like a week after I got this vision and recorded the video of it, I met the person. And so one thing after another is documented, and of course that there would be something of a little bit of a career shift and change as well. Prior to this, I was a private practice counselor specializing in crisis and behavioral disorders, and also self-improvement, anything that anybody wanted help with. That was my profession, and I loved it, and I was honored to be able to help people through crisis, and that has shifted. And I offer now, I'm what somebody referred to me recently as their spiritual trainer. Like when you go to the gym and you get a trainer to help you get fit. And so somebody referred to me as their spiritual trainer, that what I do is I motivate, try to inspire, and I teach people how to put spiritual practices into their life that's fit for them. It's not a universal practice for everyone. Again, when you go to a gym and you hire a trainer, that person designs an exercise that are right for your body type and what your goals are. And so that's kind of what my role is. And so, and again, it's uncanny that the documented predictions from everything from relocating and how and what would happen along the way, as I documented these things just to make a video journal of them. And sure enough, they've all been happening. And so what I have is those are posted on like the private, as you know, with like YouTube, you have your the ones that aren't there for the public, they're there. So they're posted, but they're not public, right? And so they're there and they're kind of stored away. And when people are ready for them and they want to, then they'll be able to link to them and see. And many people are reading the book and just that. They're asking about those things, the things that occurred. I mean, the response that I'm getting from the book is phenomenal. I mean, it's changing people's lives. I mean, it's really opening them up. The whole point, I think, of the book, why I was kind of advised, or you could say instructed to write it, was that as it's called within the portal, because I refer to the dimension I was in as the portal, the in-between state. And so, and now I see that the reason it's called within the portal is because it becomes a portal, an entryway, an entry point for people to be able to access these higher, more eternal truths. And I think that's, again, an honor that I can try to help with that.
Can you tell us about the Akashic agents? Like, who are they and what they do? I find that interesting.
Well, Akashic agents, again, that's my own little term, because Akash is the Sanskrit name for the spatial dimension. And so I didn't know what else to call them. So I'm not comfortable with like guardian angels, but you could say guardian angels or angel presences, spiritual intelligence. And the Akashic agents are very intimate and very personal. And when you are in contact with them, it doesn't feel ethereal and distant or remote at all. It feels very intimate. It feels very connected, and like they know you very well and you know them very well too. And it's very intimate. And so, the difference is many people will wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning with, you could say, visions, or you could say transmissions. That's kind of common with people that are involved with their psychic self. And the reason for that is because at that hour, your own ego and self is dormant and asleep. And so you're more raw and more accessible. And so they contact you then because there's less of you that's in the way, you could say. And so the difference between my thoughts and my musings and my considerations of life when I wake up in the morning and any other time are qualitatively different. They don't feel the same. And I could put it to you this way, Jeff, that the difference in the way they feel is they're just clean. When I'm having communication and direction from Akashic agents, it's clean, it's pure. And not that I'm thinking bad thoughts, it's that my own thoughts are muddled with my own ego and my sense of self, and somewhere in there. And they're just observedly, undeniably, unmistakably different than my own thoughts. And so the bottom line is, what we do with any spiritual forces, whatever they suggest and ask we to do, we do. And we should, without questions asked. Same with a guru or master. When you have a spiritual direction, you obey that, whether you really understand it or not. And that's what I try to do. And again, same thing when I have students and clients coming to me. I had a woman this morning that I was talking with that, there's the emotions again, because I don't like seeing people in pain. She is not having an emotional or behavioral or psychological crisis. She's having a spiritual crisis. And this breaks my heart, because doctors want to put her on medication because she attempted suicide twice. And I'm the only one in her life that's saying, you're not having a psychological crisis, you're having a spiritual crisis. And she's saying, I'm having a dark night of the soul. I mean, I don't know where I belong. I can't fit into this material realm, and I'm not quite ready to be in the spiritual realm. That's all I want to be. That's all I've wanted since I was a child. I'm like, I get it, because me too. And so the dark night of the soul is very dark. It's very difficult. It's very beautiful, because you wouldn't have it any other way. And again, Gautam Buddha once said, the best and worst day of someone's life is when they realize through spiritual awakening that enlightenment is a real possible thing. The best day because now they know why they're here. The worst day because they know they'll never, ever be at peace until they attain it. And so what I try to do is I try to help people navigate through this safely, so that they don't commit suicide or get into some type of psychological trauma, and they can navigate through it safely and begin to better develop their spirituality.
I want to let everybody know, if you have questions for Krishnanand, go ahead and put them in the chat. And while we're waiting to see what comes up, what are some of the eternal truths that you spoke about earlier?
And again, this is in the book. I mean, there is an entire chapter called Reincarnation 101. And I do this, I've won awards as a writer, I've won 6 awards. And this is because I can give you a lot of academic knowledge, but I don't do this in an academic way. I mean, that bores me. I need something that's more exciting, and I don't make it up either. I'm what's called a creative nonfiction writer. And so I make it more fun. And so Reincarnation 101, that chapter, for example, teaches you the mechanics and how reincarnation works and why. Literally, and when you read it, it's like, well, that just makes sense. It's like mechanical, like it is a science, and you can understand it logically and mathematically. And it's called Reincarnation 101 because it's kind of a beginner's introduction to it in a way, but it's also advanced, and I kind of have fun with it. And so there's that, past life relationships, the soul's journey, the different options we have, from self-realization to God realization to divine realization to divine love. There's different options that you have for total spiritual enlightenment and attainment. And so, and the thing is, you got to know which one you want, because whatever you get, it's eternal. And they're all good, no doubt about it, but we have our preferences. And so again, we've had, since the dawn of man, we've had sages and saints and masters us descend upon this earth as avatars and teach us these things. The Buddhas, the Acharyas, the gurus, the masters have taught us all these things. And so we need them refreshed. And so what I'm doing is I'm not producing my own. I'm simply reproducing what they teach, and I'm making that available in a more accessible manner for the people that need it, that haven't spent an entire 30, 40 years like I did, buried with my nose in books as I was just driven to do. And so most people can't do that. So I share the knowledge that I've acquired and accumulated throughout my entire lifetime. So eternal truths are just that. There is an objective reality, Jeff, and a subjective reality. What we think of something is subjective, obviously. An objective is the reality that exists beyond our thoughts. And that's pure and perfect. And so the eternal truths are just that. How things work, karma, sanskars, reincarnation, the soul's journey, the transformation of mind and consciousness, how it's separate from the soul, and how we can divinize our mind and soul, and how that's done. These are actual exercise and principles. And again, that's why these people are calling me spiritual trainer now, because I'm teaching them the exercise to give them the knowledge and the exercises so they can do the work themselves and they can get the results.
All right, here's my first question for you. How do you permanently leave the reincarnation system?
Listen, the conversation I had this morning with this woman was heartfelt. Both of us were in tears because we're both, I feel for her. She's saying, I don't want to be here. I never did. The material realm is distorted. And the dark night of the soul, as beautiful and wondrous as it is, it's a dark night because you realize that the material phenomena has nothing of value for you anymore. You've been there, done that, and you want spiritual phenomena only. And so, again, all the Buddhas, Acharyas, all the masters have taught us from the beginning of time, from Yeshua, Jesus Christ, to Gautama Buddha, to Shankaracharya, to Chaitanya. They've all taught us that there are roads and paths you can take to liberate yourself, to never have to reincarnate again. That is the goal, objective of existence itself, to be able to never have to come back. And so how you do that, there are several different methods to it, but basically all roads lead to Rome. The problem is, if you do the wrong thing the right way or the right thing the wrong way, you're going to miss the mark. And so we need teachers, we need guides, we need the information, we need the right knowledge, the eternal truths that are immune to humanity and perspectives and objective and subjective reality and stand alone in objective reality. We need these things to teach us and show us how to do it properly and safely.
All right. Do you remember from your NDE, well, I'm sure you probably remember it, but do you feel that this side is more real or the other side is more real?
They're both equally real. The concept that the material phenomena is an illusion, all the scriptural accounts, what they're teaching us is not that it is an illusion, like it doesn't exist. It's that your perception of it is not real. Whether you think it's good or bad, that's subjective reality. Again, so if I say it's a hot day and it's terrible, well, that's my subjective view. It happens to be maybe 90 degrees, and that's what it is. That's objective reality. And so, again, the illusion is how we perceive it. Look, on a great day, when I feel full in my heart and I'm having a good day, as we all do, then I feel the world is just a sublime place. If I'm having a bad day and a run of bad luck and things are going I'm hitting every red light on my commute instead of every green. If I'm hitting every green light, it's a great day, it's a great world. If I'm hitting every red light, it's a terrible day, it's a terrible world. And so, again, that's subjective based on my mood, my temperament. So the material phenomena is real, and every scripture agrees with this. They're saying that your perception of it is not, and that's based on where you are in your soul's journey, how you're going to perceive it. But ultimately, they all agree on this one central eternal truth, that the goal of your existence is to transcend material phenomena, and transcend material consciousness, to attain divine consciousness.
I'm not exactly sure of your previous spiritual past before the NDE, but you have a guru and you have a swami, a teacher. I'm assuming that you studied some sort of version of Hinduism. And if so, what Hinduistic symbols, if any, did you see during your NDE?
Let me back up a little bit, if I may.
Sure.
I began my spiritual career my spiritual ambitions again in my youth. And I began with occult, witchcraft, nature religions, and I loved them all. And I was very serious about them. That wasn't just some kind of a fad thing for me. I was studying and practicing them. And I wasn't looking for sinister agendas at all. I simply wanted to be at peace and wanted to be able to unite with the natural forces in the world. That evolved and grew. By the time I was in my late 20s and in my early 30s, I was a third-degree ceremonial magician within the Ordo Templi Orientis, a profound mystical order that's attaining divine, that's trying to attain magical consciousness.
Isn't that? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but isn't that that order? Does that have to do with what's his name? Gosh, what was that guy's name?
Crowley.
You were involved with that? He's the one that he started it with, Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, and he's got a bad rap. There's a little bit, and again, the process itself is, again, they're very smart people. It's a very smart order, and the whole point of it is simply to use hermetic methods and be able to attain higher consciousness. And so, and again, that offshoots, and then I became a certified and master alchemist from Flamel College, tutored by the esteemed Dennis Hawk. And so this is my, and again, I don't feel like any of those paths were wrong, Jeff. I feel that I graduated, moved on. So ceremonial magic was profound and beautiful at the time. And I moved on from that. And I also had a very profound and intense Kundalini awakening when I was 25. And I'm saying the whole 9 yards, top of my crown chakra, completely blown out the top of my head. And this was done by Tantra.
Wow. Did you know, a lot of people, or a lot of my guests that have those, have a lot of problems afterwards. Did you?
I'm very fortunate, and it's also because in my past lives recently, I did a lot of work with it. So I was able to stay sane and stable and all those things. And yes, it's extremely, if you have any fragilities at all, I don't recommend it. It completely rearranges your entire makeup, DNA to consciousness, completely rewires you completely, 100%. I mean, it can be very physically painful as well. Mine was. And it went on for several years. And it changes you permanently. It definitely brings you to a higher state. And so, yes, it can be very dangerous. And again, I didn't walk away from these paths because there's anything wrong with them. It's because in a similar way, it's like I went through grade school and junior high school and high school. There's nothing wrong with those. The knowledge that I got there was perfectly fine. I just had to keep moving on and moving up. And I went to college. Then I went to postgraduate school in my spirituality. And so I went through these things. So I've loved them all. And I am, for lack of a better term, somewhat of a master expert in theologian and in religions. And again, I don't see, for example, tarot and Kabbalah's tree of life. I don't see these things as mystical, spiritual, psychic tools at all. These are tools to use in your spiritual soul's journey. That's how they were designed to begin with. And so what I do as a coach and mentor, when I do readings for people, I'm not reading them predictions. I'm giving them information that can help them develop more spiritually. And so you move on up. And so and again, it wasn't sort of looking for the one path. And as you say, Hinduism, yes, I don't care for that term. That's a British term from colonialism in India. The true name of that path is Sanatan Dharma. Dharma, of course, is Dharma, which is truth, and Sanatan means eternal. And Sanatan Dharma means eternal truth. Hinduism is a made-up word that the British made. Okay, and most people go by it now, even in India. But the true name is Sanatan Dharma. And I like the origins. And my whole spiritual journey, Jeff, was to go down the rabbit hole. I began as a child, and I was like, you know what? I don't trust any of this stuff. And I know the only way to find the truth is to go to where did it start? How did it begin? That's where I can begin to find the truth. So I worked backwards. I went through all the paths and all the religions until I found where was the true origins of it. And Sanatan Dharma and Bhakti Yoga, and what we see is a consistent theme. And it comes down to something really simple. And I know it sounds corny and cliche, and it should be. It simply is surrendering your will and your mind and your heart to divine love. And then you experience the grace of that, and you become one with it at some point, and you don't have to reincarnate anymore. So that's the ultimate goal, is to simply love divine love, and you can experience divine love's love for you.
All right, here's a question. Do we all have to go through the dark night of the soul? And this person said, I'm not aware I did. I am not aware I did since my awakening 2 years ago.
I can't say definitively yes or no to that. I can say that most people do, and most people, but I've also known very lifelong spiritualists that never really went through any serious crisis. Now, keep in mind that the Dark Night of the Soul, St. John of the Cross, his 27 stanzas of the poem is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. It's not just this terrible, tragic, dark thing. It's this awareness. So, for example, when I'm in my meditation room every morning and I'm doing my meditations, and we're not talking about where I'm emptying the mind. I'm not doing that at all. I don't want to empty my mind. I want to connect my mind to divine love. I want to feel. I don't even want to, I just want to love God. That's all. I just want to love. I want to give love. I don't care if I receive love. And in those states, what I begin to experience, and in Sanskrit, we call this a state of bhao, B-H-A-O, bhao. And it's an intense ecstatic state where you are simultaneously feeling the union and separation, called Virat in Sanskrit and Milan. Virat and Milan simultaneously feeling separation and union with your divine beloved. Separation creates a longing within your heart that is hard to tolerate for a moment. You can't think you can endure it for another second. And yet, simultaneously experiencing the union of this, and so you just want to stay there forever. And so it's a complete divine phenomena that you cannot relate to in a material phenomena. Everything in material phenomena is either or. It's black or white. It's this or that, and it's here or now. It's not. It can't be happening. It can't be happening two things. You can't have two thoughts exactly at the exact same time. They can go back and forth, but they can't be at the same time. But in these spiritual states, and only in the spiritual phenomena, can we experience two things at the exact same time simultaneously. And this is again called Advait. The Advait is dualism. And Advait is dualism, and Dvait is monism, where you experience oneness with it. And the other Sanskrit name, which I can't think of, it's Dvait Bedabesh. Advait Bedabesh is where you're experiencing both simultaneously, separation and union together. And so the Dark Night of the Soul, I can tell you that I think at some point, my exposure with people is that everyone experiences some version of it in one way or another. And some of it's more severe than others, and some of it's not. But again, as the Buddha said, the best and worst day of someone's life is when they realize that it's a real thing and that they desire it, that the only true desire, the only true dharma is spiritual dharma. And so once you realize that, you want it with all your heart. And that's when your spiritual journey truly gets serious and begins.
So, if we're talking about reincarnation and we come back over and over again, probably many, many times people they don't even believe in reincarnation, as well as they don't even know why they're here. So correct. What is the point of it all? Especially if you don't even remember anything.
Because in your consciousness, which has layers upon layers, it is in there. Your past life memories are within your consciousness is pretty infinite. And so therefore, just like your hard drive, you may not be seeing those files, but somewhere in your hard drive is trace of those files. Even if you wipe your hard drive, there's traces of them, right? And so in a similar way, your consciousness works the same way. So even if you may not consciously remember them, unconsciously and subconsciously, those layers of your past life experiences are in there, and they begin to unfold. And so again, how else do you explain that many people enter into a lifetime and they do remember? I do, and I don't remember remotely, and I don't mean kind of abstractly. I'm saying that many of my past life memories are as vivid and sharp as the ones in this lifetime. They're not foggy, they're not fuzzy, and I know many people like this. I can have a conversation with some other mystics and spiritualists that are similar to me, that we just talk about it casually. It's just not an unusual thing for us. And so once you begin to awaken these areas of your consciousness, you have access to them. And of course, it becomes easier and easier, like muscle memory. This again, as a spiritual fitness trainer, I get people in shape. And once you do this, you get better and easier access to these things. and more quickly. And so you begin to build on it. And again, muscle memory, you're building on top of the spiritual work you've done in the past, because as it starts to surface in your mind, you start to remember and starts to come up and start to be able to assist you and give you a big boost.
Would you see that most people search out or begin their spiritual journey because of their dark night of the soul? They're suffering and they're looking for something to help them.
Certainly, Jeff, I would think that the near-death experience is a capital example of dark night of the soul. Let's face it, most people, near-death experience is what is the religious experience, the spiritual awakening for many, many people on this planet. They were agnostic or maybe even atheistic before, or just mindless of it, just not good or bad either way, just really kind of just neutral on it. And the near-death experience woke them up because they saw proof, and it started that dark night. So for many years, it is a difficult time. Many of them, again, many people just dust themselves off and go back to work on money with the new evidence of spiritual power. But many people struggle because it disconnects you from the material phenomena. It disconnects you from the people and the relationships that you've had as you struggle to reorient back into the material realm. Many NDEs struggle with this. Many people do. And so I would say the NDE is a classic example of a dark night of the soul. And again, not everyone's going to experience it. And I think the more you search and the more you commit to, I'm getting a chill from the kind of spiritual inspiration that's coming from it. When you truly commit, be careful what you wish for, because if you pray for the dark night of the soul, when you pray for your rock bottom to be able to begin your journey, you can't whistle it back. And once it starts, it is, again, the best and worst day of your life. It changes you forever. You can never turn that off. Look, me and this other woman earlier today were talking about the belief in God. And I say air quotes there because the word belief doesn't even fit for me. And she and I were both kind of chuckling and laughing, saying, like, believe? What do you mean believe in God? I see the evidence of God all around me all the time in everything. What do you mean believe? That's like saying I believe in daylight when it's noon. I don't believe in it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing evidence of it. And so, and again, the dark night can be that, it does make it hard. And don't get me wrong, dark night people or spiritualist people that are on their journey, look, I'm a pretty happy guy in many ways. I have a great sense of humor. I have a very dark, gallows humor, but I also like to tell jokes. I see everything through a humorous lens because it's too funny not to. And so at the same time, I can experience it dualistically, that I can see the world as a grand and beautiful place, and humanity as a beautiful miracle, and simultaneously as tainted and disturbed and distorted as it is in many ways.
Let me stop you for one moment. Somebody asked in the chat, what is a dark night of the soul? And I think it's a good question. I shouldn't have just assumed that everybody knows what that is.
That's very good. And I think you're right, because it's assumed that people do know, and many people perceive it to be, the term was created by St. John of the Cross in the 1500s. That's where it comes from. And it's become as time has gone on, it's become kind of a trend buzz topic or word that many people think means like depression, and it's not. Dark Night of the Soul, quite literally, St. John of the Cross wrote a 27-verse poem that talks about the ascent of a pilgrim at Mount Carmel, the allegorical Mount Carmel. That is, the whole ascent is his journey to go from materialness to divinity. He wants to attain oneness with God and doesn't care what it takes to do that. So the dark night of the soul is the spiritual awakening. When you have that awakening, when you realize, as the Buddha said, best and worst day, when you realize that spirituality is a real thing and you will never ever be happy, truly happy, eternally happy without it. And so in a way, it's a blessing and a curse. Blessing because now let me add to what the Buddha said. When he said it was the best and worst day of your life, it's so beautiful. He said, and because of this, it is only a matter of time until you attain it, because you will never stop trying. Once that moment begins, you will never stop, no matter what. And so again, the dark night and the curse is that I know that as much as I have my days, me and this woman were kind of chuckling about this morning too, I have my days where I'm thinking, I wish I'd never woke up spiritually, because I wish I was just ignorant and dumb and just blind to the whole thing. It'd just be so simpler to just be like anything. But I'm not, and I can't, and I'm awake and I do see. And it is the only joy that I want, and it's the only joy and bliss that I experience in this lifetime. And so it is the best and worst day, but it is only a matter of time, because once you have that awakening, you will settle for nothing less, and you will do anything and everything. And again, the Ascent at Mount Carmel is his epic poem and journey about this pilgrim's sacrifice and willing to do whatever it takes, Giving your life is nothing to attain oneness with God's love. And so that's what it's about. The dark night is when you realize, when you have your spiritual awakening, you begin your journey, and in full commitment.
So do you feel like you're still processing your NDE?
No. And I don't think I ever was processing it. Like, what did it mean? Or no. Look, my near-death experience, again, wasn't brief, and it goes on to this day. First of all, my trauma and my injuries were so severe. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm healthy and strong. I work out and I play and I do things every day. I'm very physical. But I had some brain traumas that I'm still dizzy. I mean, and so I'm just like anybody else, and I'm very advanced in my intellect and all these kind of things. And again, that's a miracle that all that was restored. But the ongoing experience of it, it wasn't a brief thing. And so the ongoingness, I'm sorry, I got a little lost. Say your question again.
Gosh.
Oh, you said processing.
Yeah, like do you feel like you're still processing, which you said no?
Certainly new layers of it get revealed, but I was never, even when it was happening, when I was asked by the Akashic agents, when I was on the other side in a coma on the planet Earth, when I was there and they asked me, I said, so where's the pass on loved ones and the white light and all that? And the answer was, those are available to everyone who needs to cope with this experience that can be very traumatic and very difficult. Do you need any of that? And I said, no, I don't need any of that. I'm totally at peace, and I'm totally content, and I'm complacent, so I'm totally content. And so I was at peace, so I didn't need any of those things. And so layers continue to unfold, but I just was, I understood it then, I understood it, I understand it now.
All right. Is there any new, what do you have new for us that we didn't cover last time? And I apologize, because I probably not even had a chance to go back and review our old podcast together.
No, that's okay. I haven't seen it either.
Oh.
I'm on a lot of these things. I don't see them either. And again, so I don't want to make it seem like a sell. What I produced in this book, again, every word of it is done from the pain in my heart to just want to assist humanity and assist souls on their soul's journey. That's what I died for. I died for that. And I would again. And the services that I offer. So for example, I mean, I'm going to say it out loud. The woman that I was with this morning, she needs help navigating through a dark night of the soul. And I am going to help her. She doesn't have any money. And I said, don't worry about it. Pay me whatever you can afford. Here's how it works. Here's my fee as a professional counselor that's certified and licensed, and I provide treatment to people. And I also do my spiritual mentoring that comes with that. Here's my rate. Here's my fee that I charge for my business. Pay me what you can afford, whether it's $1 or $100 or the whole thing. And I've done this for many, many years, and I'm not a rich man. I can't afford to just work for free. But I found that I'm not going to turn anyone away, and people do the right thing. The people that can't afford to pay my full fee, they do happily. And I remind them, when you do that, you make it possible for me to treat somebody that can't. Too many people can't. And so that's how it works. It's basically on a donation basis. Whatever you need, I can't turn anybody away, and I'm not going to. And so same with the books. I mean, I've got 8, 9 books on my website. the weekly meetings that I have on Zoom are free. I don't charge any money for those things. We talk about these spiritual things. We clear these things up. And so, some people donate and some people don't, and that's just fine. I trust and rely on truth and honesty. When people can afford to pay and compensate for the time and help me out, then they do. And I think that's wonderful. And when they can't, they don't. But I'm not going to question it. Bottom line is I'm here to do the work and I'm here to try to help. And so, yes, again, I found that generally most people are honest and they're sincere and they enjoy that. And so that's how it works. I mentor people, I teach them, I train them, and I give them access to the things that I know that I've experienced throughout my life, which has been very, very challenging, very difficult. And I help them navigate through the dark night of the soul safely. And if they can pay me and compensate, great, but I'm not going to turn them away if they can't. So that's kind of, you could say, the new information. The lights just went on.
How'd that happen?
They're on a timer.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe, something spiritual happened.
Well, who says it's not? I mean, dude, what's the timing of that,
Right.
And so, I mean, to use that metaphor, I mean, yes, I'm trying to illuminate people's minds and consciousness. I'm trying to help them. Look, weekly, Jeff, people are reaching out to me and saying, I don't know what to do. I'm spiritual. I want to be, I don't know how to put it in practice. What do I do? Meditating sucks. I'm terrible at it. Yes, you are, because you're not doing it right. And so again, we go to a teacher. If we want to learn how to cook, how to bake, we go to a teacher. First we can go to a book and see how to bake a cake. Or we can go to a teacher that's baked a cake. And if we could, we'd go to the cake itself, right? And become one with the cake. And so while I'm not the cake, I'm more than a cookbook. I'm the teacher that's had the experience as well. I've eaten the cake and I've baked the cakes. And my teachings come directly from the cake itself. I go to the masters. I've had it from them. And that's just it. Many people are exhausted from trying to find the right set of practices and methods to be able to develop their spirituality in a peaceful and safe way that isn't confusing, doesn't lead them down the wrong path. And that's what I'm here to try to navigate them through, try to go to the right things in the right way that's going to work for them.
What do you think is the best way to meditate?
Again, it depends on the person. I can't give you a universal one for everybody because everyone's different. I mean, I'm a very cerebral person. For me, emptying my mind, I was very good at it. I was reached some very intense and beautiful, peaceful samadhi states long ago. And now I like an active meditation. So most of the people that I work with respond very well to the active meditation rather than passive. Passive meditation is where you're trying to empty your mind. Good luck with that. The nature of your mind, the reason it exists is to think and to feel. That's what it's for. If it's awake and conscious, it's going to think and feel. That's what it is. Even when you're asleep, it's going to think and feel. And so instead of emptying your mind, which is impossible, it makes people insane trying to do it. They feel like they're failing. They feel bad about themselves. Instead, it's about an active meditation. It's about attaching your mind to spiritual things in a spiritual way that these teachers of the aeons of history have taught us, to be able to attach to things that infuse us with spiritual thought and feeling. And so to think about something, but not just anything, to think about spiritual things and not just in an abstract way. And again, practice makes perfect. So my role as a teacher and a guide is to help them develop that. And again, work with them and customize it and say, okay, now try this, now add on this, and be able to shape it, modify it. And again, a fitness trainer at a gym, they tell you the basics to do. And as you're doing them, they correct you along your way. That's what a coach does. And that's kind of what I do with spiritual practices. I coach them.
It's fascinating for me because you're the third guest in about a week or so that has talked about the samadhi state. Can you tell everybody what that is?
Samadhi is one of the highest states of meditative consciousness. You go through, I think it's like 7th or 8th layer, and basically you're experiencing a oneness. So for example, the candle meditation, if you're meditating on a candle flame, you're staring at that as a focal point, or a yantra, like that's what this book is. The cover of this is a yantra, a focal point. So you meditate on this, and what this does is it rearranges. Thank you. It rearranges your visuals. It rearranges how you're thinking. So this whole image is not just a pretty picture. This whole image, everything from the eyes to the colors to every line on this thing, is designed to appeal to your unconscious and subconscious. You're spiritual conscious. And that's what yantras do. So I got somebody that, and so I'm sorry, that really kind of.
We were talking about the samadhi state.
Right, samadhi state. And so, for example, when I was practicing just after my Kundalini experience, and I was doing samadhi type meditation where you're emptying the mind, you're using a focal point to bring your mind to single-mindedness, one thing, a yantra, a mantra, whatever it may be, Om with the candle flame. And what happens is this. So when I was staring at the candle flame and meditating in a dark room and emptying my mind and using maybe a yantra, Om, Yom, or whatever it may be, over time, over minutes, sometimes hours, you start to, the space between you and the object starts to evaporate. And I mean literally like the space, it just begins to not exist until you feel as you don't know where you begin and the candle flame you're looking at begins. And you begin to become one thing. And that's, again, Advait, what duality. You're removing duality, you're having Dvait, which is oneness. So you're beginning to evaporate and undo the separation between you and the focal point. And so the state of samadhi is when you start to, again, you're empty, your mind is becoming empty, you're becoming one, you're single-mindedness, and you're having no mind. Samadhi literally means no mind. The problem is, whenever I would attain it, and I used to have long talks with a monk at a Buddhist temple that was near me in LA back then. He said, we joke about it a lot. And I said, yeah. And then the moment I get that moment of samadhi, I'm like, oh my God. And I get excited. And of course it ends because then my ego's there. Then I'm like, I'm excited about it. And so it's hard to sustain. When you go through the eightfold path and the 8 branches of yoga to attain samadhi concentration, it tells you right in the beginning of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, once you do this, and as the Buddha said, once you get to that stage, then you got to get rid of the candle flame. Then you got to get rid of the yantra, the mantra. Then you got to now you got to be completely no mind. You still have one thing in your mind. That's not good enough. Good luck. And so, again, this is where people are trying this and they're failing because this is not the age for that. This is the age of Kali, and this is not the age of Satya or Dwapar. In Satya Yuga and Dwapar Yuga, it's different. But in Kali Yuga, we don't have that kind of consciousness. And so samadhi is to attain that, but then you have to sustain it. And even if you do, you can't function in the world. In order to function in the world, you have to bring your consciousness back into your body. You have to be able to function in the world, be able to go to work and pay your bills and stay indoors. And so you got to end that. The Buddha, and I don't mean the Buddha we know of as in Gautama, I mean the Buddha as in a title, a Buddha. Every Buddha is in an enlightened state permanently. They don't fluctuate in and out of it. They're in that state of samadhi all the time. They've attained that and it's permanent. And that's very difficult to attain. So samadhi is just that, where you have absolute clarity and total, you could say, it's going to sound kind of silly, you could say one mind or you could say no mind, because you have basically no mind.
Well, Krishnanand, an hour went by pretty quick. And I've got to let you go. I've got my next guest up. But
how long it's been?
Yeah.
That's why my phone's going off. I have a student showing up.
Oh.
He's at the gate.
Oh, there you go. Well, if you guys want to find out more what Krishnanand is up to, links to his socials and website and his book are in the description below. And so you can check it out.
If I may, the book is right now, I'm giving the audio and the ebook away for like $8. I mean, it's because I really want people to have it, and it's also, so please, you'll really enjoy this. You got nothing, I mean, there's so much that you can get from this.
All right, Krishnanand, great seeing you again. Great catching up. Thank you for coming and sharing with my audience. I really appreciate you, and stay in touch, brother.
Thanks for inviting me, man.
All right, take care. Mm-hmm.
Bye, everybody.
All right, that was Krishnanand. Let's kind of put on a little bit of music there. All right, I think Dr. Brock is there. And before I bring him on, we have a bunch of more people here. Again, I want to kind of plug my podcast for tomorrow. I would say that today's podcast that I recorded, a near-death experience, it could be a must-listen to one. It's, I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. It's a man from England that's now living in Colombia. That's going to be tomorrow night, and this guy was, poor guy was beaten in the head, and eventually that he had suffered a traumatic brain injury, which resulted in his NDE. So that'll be tomorrow night, and I hope you guys come and watch. All right, so we got Dr. Brock here. Let's bring him in, and he was probably one of my first near-death experience guests. I mean, we probably go back almost 3 years. That's how long it's been since I've seen Dr. Brock.
Yeah.
Dr. Brock, great to see you again. Yes. And has it been about 3 years?
It has been. I went and looked back. It was 3 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I think it was number 43 of your
Number
show.
43. That's, what is today's? 1044. Wow. So that was 1,000 videos back. Can you guys imagine?
That's cool.
So I probably didn't even have 1,000 subscribers back then, at that level.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how many people are familiar with your story. I always remember you because you were raised Jewish, but you encountered Jesus during your NDE, right?
Yes, I did.
So
changed my life.
I have an hour with you. If you want to, I probably would be good to kind of review your NDE, because the majority of the people weren't subscribers, if not all of them weren't subscribers at that time. Yeah. And maybe we can go from there.
Okay. Yes. So it was in 1976. I was 22 years old. I guess a big part of my story is I had never heard of NDEs or knew anything about it. So my experience was, I knew something happened, but I didn't know what to think about it in my mind. And that was actually kind of a good thing. But so I had been living in Colorado in the United States, and I came back to the Northeast to visit my parents. And I came back with my roommate, who also, his parents lived in the same area that mine did. And we went to a party. And so I took my mom's little Ford Bobcat, and he had a 280Z, a much fancy car. But I was at the party. I was drinking and smoking pot, and I felt a little high, but I didn't think I was too high to drive. But I kind of came up with a plot, I guess, to go back, leave my car there and go back the next day, because I thought the girl who was having the party was very cute. And the house was jam-packed, loud music, so it wasn't really, conducive to talking to her. So I had my friend drive me home with my plan to go back the next day, and almost back to my parents' house, I realized my sister needed to use my mom's car the next day. So I had my friend drive me back to the party. I went in to tell the girl, that I was taking my car and it wasn't going to be there. I didn't want her to worry. Leaving the party that time, I remember walking through the crowd towards the door, and I often say this because I very rarely drink now, but it was hazy and a little too bright, and I probably shouldn't have been driving. But in the 1970s, people weren't really thinking about that like they do now. So I remember heading towards the door. I have a little bit of memory in my mind of walking the path out it was a suburban house towards where the car was parked. And then the next thing I remember, I was out of my body in the white light. The car was smashed down there. My body was leaning against a tree with my legs straight out. There was a police officer crouching over me. My experience was very feeling. I'm a very kinesthetic person anyway. So it just felt like the perfect summer day, or sometimes being in the water in the summer when the temperature's just perfect. And so I was in the white light. Behind me, there was circle of white, a different shade, and then within that circle there was like a full-length silhouette of a being that was radiating different shades of white off of that. And I don't know how long it was. It didn't, I mean, when I tell the story, it's only very short, but it didn't feel that short, but it didn't feel like some people say they were there for years. It didn't feel like that either. The being behind me said, "You have to go back. Your father wants you to stay." I knew that at that moment, the father he was talking about was God, not my physical father. Again, the experience was very feeling, like the love and the warmth. It seemed like everything made sense. Seeing my head was cracked open, didn't bother me a bit. And so when the being said, "Go back," and I say the being because I didn't even have the words to put on it at that time. The words came later when I started learning about this kind of stuff. And, in the spirit of everything's just good, because everything seemed perfect there, everything. And it wasn't like this ta-da kind of thing. It was just very peaceful and everything was good. And so I went back into my body and I came to 3 days later in the hospital. I had some glimpses of kind of coming almost up to the surface over those 3 days, but I didn't have any like spiritual experiences that I was aware of at that time. My words for it came later. I mean, a couple of things happened to me in that experience. One is my hands start to become warm when I touch people, and that still happens. My intuition definitely increased. Probably the biggest thing that really changed my life is I just started to meet people that were doing spiritual things and, healing. And after I recovered enough, I went back out to Colorado. My mom convinced me to come back east by bribing me with a new car. And, I was out there, I was working in a restaurant. I liked it, but it wasn't really my thing. I mean, I love to cook, but so I went into my dad's electrical contracting business. And I was sitting in my apartment one day in Tarrytown, New York, and someone knocks on the door. I got up and answered it. And there was this beautiful woman there. And she said she was a sister of a friend of mine from Colorado. One of the very few people I mentioned my experience to, because you talk about this. In those days, people would look at you like you're a little crazy. And she said, "My sister told me some cool things about you, and I want to get to know you, but she also said she knew someone who teaches about what happens after we die." So this woman just shows up at my door without me doing anything, and she introduced me to my first spiritual teacher. When he first started to talk to me, then some of the things he said, it just like you get this ta-da kind of feeling. And so I knew, like, he was describing what I went through. He had the words to describe it. So first he started to talk to me about Mary, and he would say she was so open to the Christ energy and God's love. That's how she, manifested Jesus. And then when he started to talk to me about Jesus, it was like, whoa, that was Jesus behind me. And that the love, the openness that he talked about with Mary, that's what I experienced in that love. And he also talked about the ocean of divine love and benevolence. So he was a Sufi sheikh, which is an Islamic teacher. There's some variations on that ocean of divine love and benevolence, but that just really described, like I said, it was almost like being in an ocean of love. And then he talked to me about a lot more stuff, but that's when I first had the words to describe my experience.
Were you excuse me, were you just culturally Jewish at the time, or would you say you were actively practicing?
I wasn't choosing to actively practice. So, my family celebrated the major holidays. I remember when I was very young, we would go to, I guess, Passover, and it would take like 3 hours of reading, so the older people in the family, but even that kind of faded away. So I went to Hebrew school, I was bar mitzvahed. So I don't know, it wasn't like I was really into it, but the thing I even remember going to Hebrew school was so for Passover, part of the story is there was enough oil in this lamp for one day. And somehow through the mystical things that I've learned to really love, uh, the lamp lasted for 8 days. And that was, those magical things in the Bible that we could easily compare to what I do now. Those are the things, that's what got my mind going, my heart going. So,
Well, just because somebody encounters Jesus during their NDE, from my population of guests, doesn't
yeah,
mean that they become Christian, you know what I mean, or hardcore Christian or deeply devout. I guess that's probably the best way to say it.
yeah.
Did encountering Jesus change your religious beliefs at all?
Yes, and a lot of that changed as I met people describing what happened. So um, I'm always kind of playing around with when people ask me what religion I am, because my heritage is Eastern European Jewish. So it's not, to me, it'd be better if there were more words for that, because saying Jewish, there's Jewish people in South America, in Spain, and everywhere in the world, and the culture is not the same as the you know families from Eastern Europe. So, but my religion is definitely not Jewish. It is more Christian now. I go to a Unity church and they don't always claim being a Christian church either, but they're definitely believe in Jesus and talk a lot about his teachings and stuff.
Well, it sounds like your gift is some kind of healing or something through your hand.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was very much in my hand. So I've been kind of writing a book for years. In the last few months, I've been getting more serious about it. And part of that is I realized I learned a lot about healing from that Sufi sheikh. When I started to do hands-on healing is where it really got to where I knew more of what I was doing, and it's kind of experiential. But so I started to study polarity therapy, which is a very gentle body work. It's kind of like acupressure, but even more gentle, where you're just holding points. And so it's like I had this information in my spirit or from my near-death experience. I had these really amazing experiences with the Sufi teacher. But when I started to do hands-on work is when I just kind of felt it in my body, I guess. Um, and that progressed. I studied other kinds of body work. I did crystal healing for a while, and got into other things. And now what I do remote healing. I mostly work on Zoom. So, but the part of not knowing, even in the beginning, I think was really good for me, because I needed to find out, and I learned a lot. I met a lot of people. I studied a lot. I knew I had this experience, and I just wanted to learn more about it. So I've been doing that ever since, which is many years ago.
Before I ask you the next question, I just want to let anybody in the chat know, if you have questions for Dr. Brock, be sure to type them in the chat. And while we're waiting on those, I had another guest talk about a Sufi sheikh, at least I think so. And
Yeah.
I think there's a very famous one in Canada. I don't know if you keep up with that, but even
Yeah.
yes or no, let me just kind of get to the question. Are the Sufi sheikhs kind of like the esoteric, paranormal versions of or extensions of Islam, kind of like the Kabbalah in Judaism?
Yes. So there are some people, that's my understanding, but there are people who call themselves Sufis, and I don't know. I just know from my experience. So this teacher was Islamic. I actually lived in Vancouver for a while because he was there, and there are these the whirling dervishes.
Mm-hmm.
That's who this is. And
Is he still there?
he's not alive anymore. So, but there was a whole community. There was some other teachers there also. There was this one guy who owned this Turkish coffee house, and we would go in there late at night. You drink this little cup of coffee, it keeps you up all night. It's so strong. People are smoking cigarettes, which I don't particularly like, but the old timers, I'm saying old timers, they're probably my age now, that would tell these great stories. And this one guy, he would, share, he was trained to be like a warrior, and he told this story like he learned how to ride a horse and like duck over the side and shoot under the neck of the horse, and I mean, it was just these great stories, and a lot of wisdom that would come through there. So there probably are Sufis up there in Vancouver, but there might be anywhere,
Right. I had a guess probably within a month or so or less that she is Muslim. And we talked about her NDE, and she also talked about having encounters or being attacked. I'm not really sure because I don't remember the full podcast, but by what Muslims call the jinn, which I think are basically demons. And I think she got
a little different,
right. And I think who helped her was some famous Sufi from Canada, and we were talking about that, and I thought, it might be an interesting person to have as a guest.
Yeah. Well, what I do now is kind of like that, because people kind of blow it out of proportion, but there are the positive things in spirit, luckily, and there are the negative things. So there's demons and entities, and they're around all the time, and they affect people at different amounts. But if normally someone's sick or having any kind of problems, the negative powers are there. They want to, they're looking for openings to come in, and they're, in a funny way, their job is to strengthen us, but they're really good at trying to keep us from our spiritual awareness. But luckily, there's all the positive things. So there is Jesus, there is Abraham, there's Buddha, all the prophets and saints are there helping us.
All right, I got a question for you. And when you were laying your hand on someone, do you know things, or do you see things, or do you get downloads?
Sometimes, yes, I always do. Sometimes it's concrete, sometimes it's just energetic. Sometimes it's, I need to talk to the person about something because there's a block in their consciousness. Sometimes I actually have to talk to people to kind of distract them because they're holding on to things. The positive spiritual energy that I work with will not violate someone's consciousness. So there has to be something in them that's open. Sometimes I get funny little bits of information. Sometimes it's, their deepest, darkest secrets. Sometimes it's things from other lifetimes. Sometimes it's just something that's blocking their consciousness. And it could be demons or entities. Those are the main two negative things that come in.
Are you ever in contact with Jesus again?
Yes.
How do you contact him?
Well, as soon as you say that, it starts to happen.
Wow.
It kind of shakes. So it's using your intention, and we kind of use our imagination, but like when I'm working, I guess part of me is just trained to do it, so it happens. It's being really open to that, making sure my purpose is very loving and very good, and seeing the good in people and doing things to be of service. And it is kind of, and I'm closing my eyes because it's sometimes a lot of energy comes in, so it takes a little focus, but so it is almost like you're on your knees saying, "Dear God, help me, and how can I be of service?" And then when you get in that frame of mind, then not just Jesus, but there are other, like the archangels come in. There's some things that come in that I don't even know what they are. I suppose I could try to find out, but the not knowing part seems to be really important for me, because my mind is quick and kind of wants to interfere and act like I know more than I do. So, but I do know how to be open to that.
When you do your work, do you ask for a particular form of protection or guidance? before so?
Yes. So I say a prayer at the beginning and I keep it kind of generic so it, can be open to any person's spiritual or religious beliefs. Yes, there's a part of asking for the light to be around you and protect you. I do, after each session, do some clearing. I spend hours every day meditating. I do Tai Chi, I do yoga, I do journal writing. And there's another writing exercise I do that's really good for clearing stuff. I also get someone else's opinion who does what I do like once a week just to make sure, because I really want to stay clear. And the negative powers can be sometimes very subtle and they're really good at tricking us. So it's good to get someone else's point of view.
Is there a simple way for somebody to ask Jesus or God to protect them in the moment?
There is, and that's pretty much it. You ask for the Christ. I mean, what Jesus brought in gave people the authority over the negative things, but it's you want to have a number of tools in your toolbox, basically, so you can try different things. Again, our mind really wants to get something that's concrete. Like you're asked, so there's a saying I really like: if you can put your finger on it, it's not it. Which means if you're at, so you can ask for any of the saints or prophets. You could ask for the archangels. Purple color really helps. There's a thing, purple flame. A lot of times what I just do is if I feel something that's negative in me, I'll just imagine all this light coming into it. And sometimes I'll just say, Jesus, Holy Spirit, over and over again. But again, that's my thing. So again, the other, some of it matters what your karma is. It's funny in my case, because a lot of times if you're not getting an intuitive hit, you want to go to the saint or prophet you try the saint or prophet that's connected to the religion you were born, because a lot of times that works. So you got to kind of try things and really stay present. So it would be easy to get, asking for the light of the Christ really is the biggest thing, but sometimes you got to do more. Okay. So, yeah.
All right, next question. What does the energy feel like when you are with Jesus or angels?
Well, sometimes it feels different. So it feels sometimes like a pressure on my body, and sometimes even more of a pressure in my heart center here. Sometimes a couple of years ago, I started holding my hands up because I started working online and I wasn't touching people. And one of my friends said to me, "You've forgotten about the healing power of your hands." So it prompted me to start holding my hands up when I'm working with people. Sometimes my hands just start shaking. When a lot of negativity comes in, actually sometimes it's like this. But the people on the other end sometimes feel tingly, sometimes feel hot or cold, or all of a sudden they're just smile and they just feel a whole lot lighter.
All right, here's another one. Someone asked how to focus energy in hands. The person says sometimes they feel warmth, but they're not sure. They feel like that it is what it is, but unclear of how to focus.
Yeah, well, there's one of the laws in spirit is called the law of assumption. So if we can 100% assume something, which as a human is kind of hard, then it will start to manifest. We have to kind of assume that it is what we want and check it out. So sometimes when I'm touching people, to them, it feels like my hands being warm. To me, it feels like they're being warm. So you want to try it and assume that and learn. I studied polarity therapy, then I studied connective tissue massage, and I've learned other hands-on. There's this great book called Touch for Health that is more based on acupuncture, but it's a really good book for pretty simple, basic tools that you, because it uses applied kinesiology, and then you rub points and then you see if the muscle goes stronger. So it's, a physical, practical way to learn how to use that energy. And you use it, it's important to use phrases like "for the highest good," and the thing is, touch is done in the right way is inherently healing. So it's kind of like you can't really go wrong. So give it learn some things, study, and learn how to use that.
All right.
So
I
that's
got
a
another
question that someone
for you.
is asked online.
Yeah, I've been just reading off questions from the people.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have another one here.
Well, I'm going to answer that other one a little more specifically.
Okay.
Because I was kind of answering intellectually as opposed to trying to tune in. So we have chakras. Everyone knows about the 7 main chakras, or most people do, but we have energy centers in our hand. And you can use your intention to help those open up. So one thing is just going like this to get your hands warm, and you can try it on you or try it on someone else and see. That you want to try to be very kind of generic in your approach of healing, because you don't want to impose on someone, but you want someone to be, like happy and healthy. Just keep it real general and see what happens.
All right, let me get to the next question.
Okay.
There was another one you had. All right. Is what you do with your hands, can anybody do that? Or is that only a result from your NDE?
I think I don't know about anyone. I think a lot of people could do it to one degree or another. A big thing did happen in my NDE, but also studying with certain teachers, very phenomenal things happened also. And again, that part of not knowing's been, I think it's important to keep it open. If you feel like you have some healing abilities, I encourage you to explore it, but learn, trust your heart to what to learn, and don't and understand there's always more. So I've been doing this. So I'll be 70 next year. So I've been doing this close to 50 years, and there's always more to learn. I'm always looking to do more and do better and better. And that part is, and you trust this wonderful thing inside you, and you see this wonderful thing in other people. And it just like this energy comes in, it's like this joy comes in, and then it's like, well, what do I even do with that? And it's almost like you trust your instinct and your intuition to guide you. But it's like anything, some people can do it better. So I always try to teach my clients how to do some of this stuff, and in most cases I do it better.
All right. Well, it's basically a question, but if anybody wants to contact you, what's the best way to do so?
My website is laurencebrock.com, and you can go on there, or I can give you my phone number, but it's just for texting to start, or on WhatsApp. It's 732-567-6388, and that's in the US. So if you're calling from out of the country, it's, I guess, 01 country code.
All right, here's another one. Do you use thoughts of color or specific light energy with certain things?
Yes, definitely. So sometimes the colors just come in without me initiating it, which is, I think, is kind of extra cool when that happens. And sometimes sometimes they add colors in. So I use purple a lot, green, orange, and pink. Those are the 4 ones. So pink is for loving, green is usually more for physical healing, orange is for clearing and like a gentle energy pick me up, and purple's for spiritual transformation. But sometimes it is, well, I'm not seeing much movement in the person, and I'll just get a feeling. So see, when I said that, something happened when I said the purple light. So it's probably affecting someone. And then it's like, oh, so I said it, and then I feel this energy. It just feels like something's moving here. And then I go, okay, good, something's moving. And then I'll kind of hold that and honor that and respect that for a while and see how long the movement happens, you know?
All right, there was a question here and I lost it. Oh, okay. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, Dr. Laurence Brock, yes.
Were you or are you still putting up guided meditation videos?
There are guided meditation videos on there. There's a playlist of just meditations that if you go to the main screen and scroll down, there's some playlists that's meditation.
Well, that's cool. What are the subjects that you're guiding the meditations about?
There's one that's just what I call the basic soul meditation, which I encourage people to do on a regular basis. Like that's my daily meditation. There's one channeling the Christed light. There's one called, I think, To the Greatest Gift. There's one about, I think it's called Love Your Karma, Be the Blessing. There's one that's just a 5-minute mindfulness meditation that is really good for very beginner meditators because it's only 5 minutes long. There's one called Meeting the Master, and there's another one, I don't remember the other one. There's one more on there.
Do you think it's best to do guided meditation?
It depends what you want to do it for. I think the basic soul meditation, what I tell people is it's a 13-minute meditation, but once you learn how to do it, you don't really need the tape. But if the tape helps, you know, we're looking for what helps and what makes it easy to connect to this phenomenal thing that is beyond our understanding. So whatever clicks it in. It just, if you're doing the same thing every day, you want to just be careful that you're not doing it dogmatically, basically.
Do you have any guided meditations to help somebody astral travel?
No, but the basic soul meditation is designed to soul travel. So, which I think a lot of people don't understand. That might be what they're doing. So it's to travel to a high, so there's the astral level, which is very similar to the physical level. The soul levels, I mean, we talk about like this, but the soul level is when I experience it, it's what I experienced in my near-death experience. It just is a lot of love and a lot of warmth and knowing beyond what you can even think of, and the healing starts to come in. So usually when I do that, after I do the meditation for a while, first it's kind of like, out there, and then all of a sudden something will happen and the energy will just come into my body. So there's usually 2 parts to it, and that part is the healing energy coming in.
Well, I've been looking at Yoda all the time since we're together. Are you inspired by Yoda or Star Wars? Or?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And my wife here says that's her favorite character in Star Wars is Yoda.
Baby Yoda. That's Baby Yoda.
That's Baby Yoda,
I mean,
yeah.
Just saying it makes my heart smile. And yeah, the other one, I have a little, actually that's a little Roomy puppet, and then the other one's Merlin the Magician. Those are like my 3 heroes, yeah.
Oh, cool. And I see the little pyramid on your desk as well.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something that's designed to help with the electronic energy.
Do you ever do anything with the Merkaba?
No, I haven't.
All right.
I mean, I'm open to looking into anything. So the part of not knowing is just really being open to these wonderful things, however it comes in. So sometimes I think it varies with who I'm working with. Sometimes it's kind of like they're specialists in the spirit and they come in for a certain problem. Sometimes pets come in or past loved ones come in too to help people, which is nice.
One thing that you said earlier reminded me of this guest that I had, and we talked about the best way to raise your frequency is changing your beliefs or belief systems. And you didn't say that, but you kind of said learning from teachers is what really changed you.
Yeah, well, it is good. Well, I'm a big fan of gratitude, which really helps change my thinking. And so our thinking affects us a lot, but we're also, through our thinking, we're trying to affect our beliefs and things in our unconscious. So we do have karma that restricts us a certain amount, but being positive, being of service is really a great thing, helping other people. And, yesterday I go to a Unity church. I was there planning for some electrical work, and, I like to do the hands-on work and, just doing things, saying thank you to people, being kind, smiling at people, just choosing into that good stuff as much as you can, but also be gentle and loving with yourself, because it's not like, oh, I'm going to think one good thought and my whole life's going to change. It's an ongoing work, and perfection is a state of progress. So you look at your progress as being perfect.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned earlier you're working on a book. You don't actually have a book out. You're still working on it, right?
I am, yes. And I have enough stuff written and enough videos where I've told my story. So I'm just kind of putting it together now.
Here's a question. Did you have difficulty finding a religious community or church after your experiences?
Things just kind of lined up for me, to tell you the truth. So I first met that Sufi sheikh. Again, this woman showed up at my door. Part of that was some years later, I had another car accident that it wasn't nearly so bad, but then I went up to Vermont to visit a friend, and just to take a break from work, really. And he introduced me to polarity therapy. And she just happened to know someone who, was right near where I lived. So I started going there. I took classes. So that was another community. Then that led to meeting someone else. But I think there's unity churches in a lot of places in the United States and in other places that a lot of them are really open to this kind of thing. And it is definitely Christian oriented, but there's people from all different religions there.
Yes, that's true. And there is also the Unitarian Church, which there are many of across the country too. And so you can kind of get confused between the two.
Yeah. So the Unitarian Church, to me, I like it. There's one near me, and they do a lot of good stuff in the community. So they actually are based on Jesus's teachings, but they don't think Jesus is like the spiritual, whatever. So they just think of Jesus, he was a very good teacher. So they work on his teachings. But for me, the mystical part of, bringing Jesus in and that other stuff, that's not really part of Unitarian Church.
Well, besides what we've already talked about, you have anything else going on that you want people to know about?
Well, some of the stuff that goes on in my life that I really love is my daughter, who's at college now. So that's
great.
Just I love her so much, and I really like to encourage people to meditate, and you don't have to do it perfectly. A lot of people say, "Oh, I tried to meditate, I can't get my mind to shut up." I've been meditating for, like I said, 50 years, and some days it just doesn't happen. But just taking that time to sit there, journal writing is really a great tool. Doing some of that for gratitude, is really good. Now I have my practice. I'm always open to teaching classes, and if people want to organize that. 2 summers ago, I taught in the UK, which I really loved. One of my clients owns an inn there that's really wonderful in Torquay. A beautiful place if you want to go on a really nice vacation. So I like teaching. I like answering questions. I just love this stuff.
That's great. I mean, if you love what you do, then you're not working, right?
Yeah, that's true. I know, because I am going to be 70 soon. Sometimes people say to me, "Are you good?" I don't think of retiring. It never crosses my mind.
Well, you definitely don't look 70. You probably look 55.
Thank you. I do take care of myself, but I have good genes. My dad, who passed away about 2 years ago at 92
Wow.
or 3, my sister and I argue about that a little bit, how old he was. But until 6 months before he passed away, you would have said he was 70 easily. So that's a blessing.
Well, since I've had you
Yeah.
3 years ago, have you had any new updates or anything new that you can even share with me personally since we've last met 3 years ago?
Well, I've had a lot of great successes in so the classes I taught in the UK, I have videos of on my YouTube channel. So one is for clearing negative past lives, and the other one is for channeling the Christed light. And
did you actually go to the UK and teach those classes?
yes.
Oh, wow. How do you clear your past life? That's interesting. Like, what are you clearing? Past traumas or past karma or things that you feel like you still owe in the past life?
Well, yes. Well, it's kind of like part of us gets so involved with living our karma, we get a little stuck in it. So there becomes things that are kind of unnecessary. One of my clients years ago on one of the sessions said, it's almost like a file and there's like 100 pages in there and we only need 2. So I can get rid of those other 98 and make it much lighter. It is usually if we have, so we're like a puzzle of karma and past lives. And these things are all together. Usually if someone's having a struggle in this lifetime, there's something from another lifetime that it's connected to. And just by talking to them about it and inviting in the spiritual masters to help, and sometimes it is colors, sometimes there's some forgiveness, sometimes just doing like a mindfulness breathing and not getting all bent out of shape about it can help. But then again, I just kind of hold the energy there for some of that to clear, and it does.
Do you think that we're on a never-ending loop of karma because we come here forgetting that we have a past life and we just start creating new karma? Until maybe you may have some spiritual revelation in your 20s, 30s, 50s, who knows when. So if I kind of feel like it's possible that we're just stacking up karmic debt, never ending.
Well, living, being kind to others can be, yes, I don't think it's a never ending thing, but it is sometimes a lot of lifetimes. So, but the thing of meditating, the journal writing, doing forgiveness for yourself, being of service, be honest, mostly really with yourself as much as you can, and finding teachers, because usually there's teachers out there that are, know more than you spiritually without letting your ego get involved, that help from someone who knows more than you is really helpful. So I don't think we go on and on forever, but it is a pretty long time compared to this lifetime.
Well, as the previous guest was talking about, how do you think we get out of the reincarnation cycle?
Being of service, being honest with yourself, being grateful, looking for the good in other people, trying to not judge, but we are judging machines. So then don't judge yourself for judging, but be kind, doing these good, simple things, I think, and, try to learn from your experiences. But a lot of times our karma, so sometimes I know I've kind of passed a karmic test, And almost always I think, how bad would I have had to mess it up to not pass? So it is kind of go through it and look at your life like understanding, not in a way like, oh, I'm being tortured, but in a way that it's there for some reason. And a lot of it is, how do you learn to love yourself in all these situations? How do you learn to, so something for me, sometimes someone I don't like, when I think of them, it becomes dark in my mind. And I know that that's not what I want to be doing. So I call the light in and keep working on how do I almost kind of trick myself into being lighter in my inner vision and holding and being willing to hold. So my dad passed away, but I had some issues with him. I have some stuff with my son, and like I was trying to almost ignore this for a long time. And a few weeks ago, I was, oh, I kind of have to pray for them and send blessings to them, and in a way not trying to impose, but like being of service to them. And that hopefully has really shifted. It seems like inside of me it is, but I think that part of doing something positive, doing God's work, that is the way to get out of that cycle. The sooner the better.
I'm so sorry. Let me catch it. There's a question here.
Okay.
I don't think that will work. Sorry, my wife was just pointing out a question for me, but I didn't think it was going to work out. All right. Well, if you want to know more about Dr. Brock, in the description below I think I put in there a link to his YouTube channel and his website. Let me see. What did I put in there?
Yep,
I got your LaurenceBrock.com and his YouTube channel, Dr. Laurence Brock.
Yeah.
So it's all there. And if you're into meditation, I would definitely say take a listen and see what you like.
Yeah, usually people really feel the energy, and the energy part is the loving that comes through. I mean, I just love it. So it is in my videos, but it's this thing of this energy comes in, and I love it so much, and I just kind of share it through my heart. And a lot of people feel that energy, when they do the meditations, or even listen to the interviews or lectures or classes that I've taught there. It's really great. All
right. Well, Dr. Brock, I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
I wish it hadn't been, as you were telling your NDE, I had remembered it was from an accident after being at a party. So it's years, some guests I just remember, and yours, it's like, I just remembered a lot of your NDE, and it feels like it was just yesterday when I've seen you. It's amazing to think that 3 years have gone by.
Well, it's nice to connect with you too.
It's great to see you again, and don't be a stranger. Thanks for checking in. It's great seeing you.
Yeah, I don't know if do you ever do like classes on your channel?
I don't do classes. I don't, I'm not teaching anything personally. I just bring the guests like you to the world and let you guys share your experiences in a safe space. And I don't, if people, thank you. And if, as the audience knows, I generally don't even give an opinion. I just leave it up to the audience for them to figure it out for themselves. And I'm just kind of like a conduit here.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Well, thank you.
Made a great name for yourself in our community.
Well, thank you so much. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to let you go. It was great seeing you. And again, Dr. Brock, if you guys want to know more about him, his links are in the description below.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doc. We will see you next time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that is a big round of applause for Dr. Brock. I got to get to a couple people sent me some super thanks, and I need to acknowledge that. I saw one of them, but I just didn't want to enter Dr. Brock. One of them is to Jessica Sleep. Jessica, thank you so much for that super thanks. I really appreciate it. And let me see if I can find the other one. People like the new format. Oh, that's great. I'm glad you guys do. That's awesome. There's Jessica's. And Lynn thank you, Lynn, for that super thanks. And let me turn this down a little bit. It's weird now being by myself. It's kind of funky. So I had a guest on the other day, and that was, let me pull him here and I can tell you, and that was Zachary Price. He was here to talk about his NDE, and he's getting his master's degree in, I can't remember what he's getting his master's degree in. I think it's theology or something, but he's also a clinical chaplain. And as far as I understand, he studies languages and stuff. And so he gave me a copy of this, and he's going to come back next Saturday. And he retranslated the Lord's Prayer. You know, the one, Our Father, hallowed be thy name, that prayer from Aramaic to English. And he feels like the translation that we got, and from what he read to me, his translation is completely different, and it's really cool. And so he wants to come back and talk about that, and I really enjoyed that. So he's looking in coming back next Saturday, and other people, you know, it's kind of cool. What's happening is previous guests like these two reach out to me, want to come back, and I feel like sometimes it's not a good fit to put them on as a full hour brand new podcast, but I think this is the perfect place for it. If they want to come back and either update me on what they've been up to, or like Dr. Brock, I mean, like I said, I mean, he was number 43, and I think today's podcast was 1044. So he was 1,000 podcasts back in the past. It's amazing. That's how far back it goes. So, you know, it's nice to have people come back and come back in and, you know, either update us, or like I said, for maybe many of you, he was a brand new guest. You may have not have seen him, although he does appear on other NDE channels, so you may have seen him there. I doubt that many of you guys go back that far through my catalog of videos and have found him. It's possible, though, because some people do say they've watched all my videos, so it's very possible. And there are, I mean, if you think about it, I think I'm up to 600 NDE interviews so far. And someone not too long ago said, "You're the NDE guy," which I never really thought about myself being the NDE guy, because, you know, of course I do other stuff, but that's a good case for that. So oh, I still want your podcasts that are not live, because those are great. Love your space background, like Beyond the Other Dimensions. Thank you for that. Thank you. The voice of my podcast is a very famous guy, Ross Mitchell, who used to do the announcer for Coast to Coast. He's no longer with them. And I sought him out, and he was willing to, you know, and do the voiceover for me. So I think it's awesome. He's got an amazing voice. Gosh, his voice is just so deep. It's so powerful. And, you know, the majority of you guys like it, but every now and then I'll see a comment that it's too creepy for them or not. But, you know, you can't please everybody, so that's okay. And on that note, what else we got going on? We got about 6 minutes left. So I'm promoting tomorrow night's NDE. You know, the thing is, I just think this is a probably an NDE that you don't want to miss tomorrow. And the interesting thing is, almost every video that I post, there's at least somebody in the comments that will say, "This was your best guest." And I feel just like how each person's NDE is kind of tailored for them, that each of these guests resonate with somebody. I mean, many people, obviously, but some guests will resonate with you and some guests will not. And that's okay. And so, and even the ones that resonate with me the most, a lot of times, interestingly enough, and I'm just speaking of NDEs, so because I know I put up other type of topics that many of you may not like. Can you ask guests to decrease the book selling, please? Maybe just once at the end. I understand where you're coming from. Sometimes I may mention if someone asks me for advice about being a guest. And then this is a great thing to talk about, and that is some of the guests don't want to be a guest unless, there's no incentive for them to be a guest unless they're here to promote their products. And so that's the exchange that I have. My exchange is for them to come and have them enlighten us, give us information, and a lot of them have great, interesting stuff to say and to let us know about. But that's their, that's what I offer. I mean, they're welcome to share what they have, whatever they're promoting. That's just kind of the exchange that's the way it is. I mean, if you watch late night television, right, you have some celebrity or movie star on, and usually they're there to promote their movie or their new CD or whatever. So, and some guests may be a little more ambitious, if that's not the right word, and some not. And but that's just is what it is.
Make it like your microphone sound.
Somebody likes what?
Vicky likes your microphone.
She likes my microphone sound. This is
Other podcast. It's the best of all YouTube. Sounds so nice.
Oh wow! Thank you, Vicky. Thank you very much. I've said this before during my live stream, and we are eventually going to do a behind the scenes video. I want to show you guys my office. I want to show you everything that I'm up to. I'm gonna even kind of go over my gear and stuff. So people who also want to do podcasts, if they want to, look at the stuff I use. This is a really high-end microphone from when we used to record music. It's super, super sensitive. It's probably double or triple the price of most of the podcast mics that people you see. The most people in the industry use this. I think it's I can't remember what it is, but if you see, almost everybody uses this one certain mic, and I just have this mic left over, like I said, from recording music, and it is super, super sensitive because it's to record singing. And I mean, you can pick up just the slightest breath work and everything. So, and this is like a very high-end mic, but the beginning level, if you put it that way. Like this is like over $1,000 microphone, and microphones go up to like $10,000. But I mean, just some of the lightest things, it can pick up sound. And actually, sometimes a guest is talking and I could be kind of maybe need to clear my nose or take a deep breath or something. And a lot of times during my podcast, I'm just giving you some insight to the behind the scenes. I have a mute button, and I keep my mute button on just in case, like I said, I need to do something like that so it doesn't pick it up on top of the guest. And so anyways, that's that. But yeah, we want to get this thing done, and I was thinking about if I can show them just as a teaser. No. Not that, just this. For fun. No, okay, we'll save it for the podcast. We'll save it for the actual video. There's something I was going to show you, but we'll save it. Is there anything else? So that's coming up tomorrow. I have a bunch of... I'm finally ahead in recording videos. A lot of times I've been behind in recording videos, but I'm like way ahead now, and I can kind of like balance what I'm producing. But let me also give you guys what's coming up this week as far as who I have a lady I'm going to be with on Monday night. She has a television show, and her name is Marie Diamond. And I don't know what network what she's on, but she's about feng shui and stuff. So that should be pretty interesting. I've got to record an NDE tomorrow, and a lot of NDEs. Sometimes I get a lot of NDEs, and sometimes I don't. One on Tuesday, who was this person? If I can get my computer to come out. I know I got one on Saturday, which is really cool. This person embroidered a massive tapestry of their NDE. And I have someone that did a shared death experience on Friday. This one, I didn't write it in my notes, unfortunately, what we're going to talk about, and someone about UFOs. Those are ones that I haven't even recorded yet. And then I still have a bunch that I have to edit and post. I had a nice one with a woman, a nice NDE that I had with a woman from Australia the other day, and I think you guys will really enjoy that one. And Lakeside Laura says, "Do you guys rest?" And my father taught me that there's enough time to rest once you cross over to the other side. So no, we don't rest. We're always working. What we do is a lifestyle, right? I mean, it's a labor of love, and we're either editing or we're hanging out with guests or hanging out with you guys. And then we spend a lot of time with our family and children too. So there's kind of a work and home life balance. And so I'm very grateful to have you guys as an audience so I can live this life. And you know, I work odd hours, like here's Saturday night. And actually, I don't really call it, I don't consider it to be work. I love what I do, but I'm here on a Saturday night hanging out with you guys, whereas, you know, the average person would probably be at the movies or spending time with their family or watching TV or whatever. So
you can tell you're doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, even before this, as a chiropractor, I was working, you know, your Monday through Friday. Actually, I'd even come in on Saturday mornings and see patients as well, but I worked like I was just like a regular job, right? And gosh, it's hard to even remember before doing YouTube. That's how far it goes back.
You went morning, came 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I would go in. I had long hours as a chiropractor. I would go in at 9. I would leave the house at 9. I would work like 9 to 7 or something like that, or 9 to 8, 10 to 7, 9 to, I think it was 10 to 7. That way I would kind of catch people after work that wanted to come in and see me. And I would come home late, and I had late days and long hours. And YouTube, I'm an old school YouTuber that I started doing it before even Google bought YouTube from Chad and Steve. That's how far I go back. And it was a hobby for me. Nobody was even making money till about 2010, and this was 26. And as most of you know, I did children's videos and got super successful until my kids grew up and didn't want to do it anymore. So I reinvented myself with this channel, and here we are today. And it's doing very, very well thanks to you guys. So on that note, we are over time just a little bit. And that's basically it. Yes, I'm a chiropractor. I keep a license. I don't practice anymore, but I still keep my license current. And as long as I keep getting these people coming in, and I think they're gonna keep coming in. People are gonna want to come in on Saturdays. I wish I had a massive or one long master email list of every guest I had, because that's probably like 1,000 guests, right? Some of them have come twice, and some of them were before, which were other topics that I didn't do before, the paranormal stuff. But I wish I had a master pass list email list that I could just email them all at once and say, hey, if you'd like to come back and pop in and be a guest on a Saturday night, reach out to me. Because I'd probably have a lot of people. I'd probably have the rest of the year on Saturdays booked out. But people, like I said, people reach out to me quite often. So
Stefania said you were a healer as a chiropractor.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Yes, I think I've spoke with somebody, and that we've said that I've you know, and I've said this a million times, and I'll say it again, that one thing that I never expected after doing this show is how many people are suffering and grieving out there. And many people write to me or have written to me telling me how these NDE videos help them. And so that's amazing to know that. And so maybe I've helped far more people with these videos than I ever have as a chiropractor, even though I probably treated thousands of patients. So that's awesome. It's really awesome. Anything else? All right, that's it. All right, guys, so that's it. Like I said, I have somebody that we're going to talk about the Lord's Prayer next week, and there'll probably be more that'll during the week that'll want to come back. So I'll plan on seeing you guys next Saturday night. Until then, I wish you guys the best. God bless you all, and good night.